Welcome to another edition of the Ratitude Podcast. As usual, I'm excited. I didn't realize I have so many really cool friends, but another really cool friend is here as a guest. His name is Clifton Braun. I met him in the MLM world. And I tell this story about Cliff, like he started in the MLM world when he was 19 years old. All his friends went to college and he decided he was going to go to the MLM world. And by 24, he and his brother bought 14 Lamborghinis just because he could. Now, that's not a true story, but I tell the story anyway because it's a boy lie.
Let it live.
But anyway, Cliff is an amazing person. There's so many things we're going to talk about. I don't know where this interview is going to go, but I'm really excited to have Clifton Braun here all the way from Colombia. In fact, he had to get off a Zoom that he was on when he was presenting this brand new, first only crypto credit card to the world. He got off to be on the Ratitude Podcast. Cliff, welcome and thank you for being here.
Oh, thank you, Robert. You know, I remember meeting you at Brian Staben's house, and you just stood out in the audience. I was like, I got to be friends with that guy. You know, you just like scream character and charisma, and those two don't always go hand in hand, as we know. You know, some of the most charismatic people lack character, and you know, you're just filled to the rim with both, and I just had to know you.
Well, we know each other now. Last May, I went down and visited Cliff in Colombia. So, Cliff, first of all, why don't you tell us, you're a Southern California boy. How did you move from Southern California, which I think is like the coolest place in the world to live, to what you think is now the coolest place in the world?
I met a girl. You know how that's how that always works, right? I came here, so I'm from California. You know, I grew up in Irvine, went to Irvine High School, moved to LA when I was 17. Well, I went to college in Utah for like a month, and I was like, this is not for me. In Utah Valley State College. And so I moved back to California, missed my girlfriend, missed surfing, just missed California. You know, I love California. And so somebody tricked me into going to a seminar, and I ended up getting started in network marketing and doing well. So at 30, I moved to Taiwan to help the company expand, lived there for 3 years. Then I did a pretty good job doing that. So then I went to South Africa, did the same thing there for 3 years, helping this company expand international. And when I heard they were opening Colombia, I just thought, like, I have to leave the country every 60 days for what's called a visa run. And, you know, it gets expensive. You know, you're always flying. And so I was like, hey, I'll go launch that country and do the presentation and everything if you guys pay the flight and the hotel. And they're like, what a deal. So great deal for both of us. So I flew to Colombia, and the first day I was there, I met a girl, and I said to my friend, dude, I'd marry that chick. And like a week later, we were boyfriend, girlfriend. We lived together for 9 years. We recently separated, but it was like the world's easiest breakup. We're like best friend. You know, we talked about this. You know, she just ended up being more like, not so much my soulmate, maybe, but more like my roommate. We're just like best friends. She's dating a guy now, and I'm thrilled. You know, I see pictures of them online, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm so happy she's happy. Yeah, I've been here for almost 11 years. I've got 3 apartments, 2 dogs, 2 motorcycles, and 1 ex-girlfriend.
And I'm sure some broken hearts.
Yeah, you know, it happens. But, you know, it's so funny. We only think about the hearts that our own that gets broken. I'm sure there's like a graveyard of Radnoti, you know, dead hearts out there, or people that fell in love. But like, I can remember clearly all the times I got my heart broken.
Yeah.
But I'm sure.
In fact, I think you've called me a few times.
What?
Yeah. So Cliff, I recently read something that you wrote about how you're done with MLMs and you're in a different world now. So tell us about that process, your thinking process.
So network marketing was the greatest thing that ever happened to me. I mean, at 19 years old, it's the average person's best chance. If you don't have any money, how are you going to start a business? You know, it's very difficult. And so for me at 19, working at a gas station, totally broke, going to that presentation and seeing like, wow, I could buy and sell products, and I can recruit other people, and I can get them to do the same thing. And I'm essentially building my own company for $500. I mean, that's what you're doing, you know, in a way. And so I loved it. All the personal development, seminars, the books, hosting seminars, going to seminars, reading books, writing books. And I was just so deep into that world for 25 years or something. And I loved it, but you could get burnt out on something. You know, it happens. I don't know if this is true or if I made this up in my head. I heard somebody asked Justin Timberlake, what do you want to do? He's like, anything but music. And now he's really into acting. But you know how sometimes we have something in our head and I'm like, did I read that? Or did someone tell me that? Or did I just make it up? But it doesn't matter if it's true or not. People get the point. What happened was, it wasn't like any big decision I made. You know, I've kind of always made an annual income on a monthly basis in network marketing. And in network marketing, we're always talking about this time freedom. And that does happen every so often when you're able to really duplicate yourself and build levels of leadership. Like, you know, you're the quarterback and you build like 3 front lines, and then you can sit there and have a snack and not worry about a linebacker tackling you. But it doesn't happen a lot. Unfortunately, most of the time, you know, it's kind of like the business owns you and you're 24/7 doing it. Now, of course, if you're really good and you can duplicate yourself. So I've been in both situations where it was my whole life. And I've been lucky to have, you know, my biggest team was like 67,000 college kids. And I had so many leaders, and we collectively, we had 14 Lamborghinis. And dude, I never had to do anything, and it was amazing. But so what happened was, about 7 years ago, somebody told me about Bitcoin. And I bought one Bitcoin, and it went up, and then I bought another one. And then I heard that you could mine Bitcoin, and you could like buy these machines that would make Bitcoin. You could buy the machine for way less than a Bitcoin, and over 3 years, it would produce like 5 Bitcoin. So all my friends were buying like millions of dollars of mining equipment. And even though I'd already made millions of dollars in network marketing, I had spent it all. And so I couldn't afford to do that. So what do you want to do if you want a Ferrari and you can't afford a Ferrari? Go work for a Ferrari. So I found a mining company and I sold equipment for them, and I sold enough to where I made enough money to buy my own equipment. And so I started out buying, then mining, and then I got into trading, which seems to, for some reason, I guess, you know what, that was a natural progression for me at that time. That was just kind of what was popular. And it was just crazy. It was like I started making more money with crypto with a lot less effort. And so the decision wasn't immediate. It just kind of, as my Bitcoin income kept going up, and I almost did nothing, and my MLM check was kind of staying the same, or like maybe even going down a little bit. It's just like was a no-brainer, you know? So the cool thing is, once you have a little bit of money, then you start making money on your money. It's so addicting. It's so much fun. It's like, oh my God, you know, I made all this money this month and I didn't do any meetings. I didn't do any trainings. I wasn't babysitting or hand holding. And there's parts of network marketing that I miss, like the attention on stage, like having a direct influence. Like now, on a grand scale, I'm trying to help the world escape relying on banks and government. So that's my big philosophical, right? But on a smaller scale, more accurately, probably I help people that already have money make more money, you know, in all honesty. But in the bigger picture, my goal is to help Bitcoin get mass adoption so that everybody, you know, Bitcoin won't get mass adoption until it's easier to use and until we have more clarity on the legal. But with XRP winning their lawsuit over the SEC, with so many things happening where, you know, Bitcoin ETF just approved last week. So we're moving in the right direction. Bitcoin is kind of like where downloading music was before iTunes. You could do it, but you do it with, you know, LimeWire, Kazaa, Napster. But unless you were like super passionate about music or you're a major tech person, you probably weren't going to use it. Then all of a sudden, iTunes pops along, makes it easy to use, clears up the legal, bam, mass adoption. That's the only thing holding us back from mass adoption right now with Bitcoin.
Yeah. So you and I were talking the other day, and I had made the comment that about 10 plus years ago, I went to a dinner party. And it was a surprise, but the couple that was hosting said, "Oh, we want to take you into the garage, and our son has something he wants to present to you." Yeah. And we kind of go, "Oh, that's kind of weird." But we went to the garage, and there's all these contraptions all over the place. And this guy started talking about Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, and I had no idea what he was talking about. And he said, "You know, it's $10 a Bitcoin right now, and I think by the end of the year it'll go to 40. So I'm asking each of you to invest $10,000 here." And I listened to the thing and go like, this guy's out of his mind. Why would I just throw away $10,000 at that time for $10 a Bitcoin? What is it now?
43,000.
$43,000. I could have got it at 10. I could have been as rich as you, and that would have been pretty cool. Lived in Medellín and traveled the world like you do. But I think a lot of people that listen, they may have dabbled in cryptocurrency, but I don't know that they really know what it is. Can you just kind of simplify, like for our audience, what's Bitcoin? Why should they be in it? What's the purpose? You have this higher goal, but how can someone like a normal person like me get involved?
So the first question, what is Bitcoin? Obviously, there's no real coin. Like my grandma is so cute. My brother recently passed away, and she found a novelty Bitcoin in his room. And she's like, Cliff, I found a Bitcoin in Dave's room. I'm like, a piece of chocolate probably, Grandma. The Bitcoin is not physical, it's digital. And all Bitcoin is it's basically digital cash. When people say, what's the value behind Bitcoin? The answer is technology. A better question would be, what's the value behind the US dollar? Because the answer is nothing. After 1969, Richard Nixon took us off the gold standard as a temporary experiment and never put us back on. And so there is absolutely zero value behind the US dollar other than perception. There's nothing backing it. It's not backed by gold. It's not backed by anything. So I think the value of Bitcoin, to first understand the value of Bitcoin, you have to understand how incredibly fragile and how bad our current system is failing. I mean, banks all over the world are collapsing. You got all these corrupt people that are printing too much cash, the people that own the bank or the government, and make themselves rich, and then they devalue the cash by putting too much in circulation. And the US is doing a similar version. We keep printing cash, and the Federal Reserve loans it to the government. We pay for it in the form of interest and inflation, a hidden third tax. So the problem is we've got, if I want to send Robert money, we have to use banks and government. And the problem is banks and government. I mean, I always say if we had no politics, there'd be almost no problems in the world. And so what Bitcoin is, it's a way to transact peer-to-peer that it's trustless, because every transaction has to be confirmed by a whole bunch of people before it can go through. So nobody can lie or trick. It's never had a flaw once since it was created. That part of it. Now, people get hacked because somebody breaks into their wallet. Breaking into someone's wallet, you didn't hack Bitcoin. Bitcoin's never been hacked, and I don't think it ever will. It seems to be fairly flawless. So it rests on the technology blockchain. And what blockchain is basically that transaction. If I send Robert money, a whole bunch of strangers have to verify that transaction and say, yep, it's legit. You could never get all those people to coerce. And so it's a flawless, trustless system of perfection where I can send money to Robert and the exact amount goes, and nobody could double spend, and nobody could lie or cheat or steal. And so with banks, you have centralized banks because they have all the power. For example, if I woke up tomorrow and let's say I have $1 million in my Chase account, and tomorrow morning I have $10, there's nobody to contend with. You call Chase, they go, that's what you got. And the central bank has all the power. And so with blockchain, it's decentralized, and it's all public ledger, and it's recorded on the blockchain. So it's just intamperable with. It's incorruptible. It's you don't have to rely on the banks. You don't have to rely on government. You can wake up tomorrow and the IRS could take all the money out of your account. So blockchain is just so cool because it totally relieves the need for a third party. It creates peer-to-peer it makes peer-to-peer transactions possible.
Well, what about this wallet then? I mean, you have to have a secure wallet, and that's, you said, is hackable. So people could go steal everyone's cryptocurrency from wallets, right?
Yeah, but your wallet is safer than your bank account. Your bank account could also get hacked. I had $10,000 stolen out of my Chase account. I don't know how they did it, but bank fraud is more common. And so somebody hacking your wallet, not very likely. It's possible. But that only happens when you have hundreds of millions of dollars in there. It's not worth it. How most people lose their Bitcoin is they forget their password. So that's probably because, again, Bitcoin is just not that easy to use right now. Even for me, sometimes I'm like, gosh, this is a bit of a hassle, right? So Bitcoin right now for Americans that have an okay banking system that's just corrupt a little bit. It's actually corrupt a lot, but it's not as bad as like Zimbabwe or Venezuela. Like it's not that bad yet. So here, Bitcoin is almost like a novelty or a special interest group, or oh that's fun, or oh that's cool, but like I don't really need it. And the truth is they don't, but it's going to become more and more relevant as the banks continue to fail and as governments continue to get worse. Then Bitcoin will get more and more popular.
Now, it seems like I'm reading recently that they're going to have it. What is that sort of like a stock split?
Yeah, that's a good analogy, but not really. But it's a good analogy. So what happens is that the miners are the people that have all those computers that were in your friend's garage. And what those miners are doing is they're adding, validating, and securing transactions to the blockchain by solving mathematical problems called a block. And so every time they solve a block, they get awarded, and a block is just like a chunk of transactions, okay? Every time they do that, they get awarded Bitcoin. And so right now they're getting like 6.25 Bitcoin. And when the halving, so it used to be 12, and before that it was 24. And so the halving has been happening ever since 2008, and it was designed on purpose to kind of control the flow of Bitcoin. So what's going to happen in probably March or April of 2024 is that halving, it's not exact, but it's about every 4 years, that halving is going to occur. The miners are going to be awarded half as much Bitcoin per block that they solve. So instead of getting 6, I'll just use round numbers. Instead of getting 6, now they're going to get 3. So the price of Bitcoin has to double for them to pay their electricity bill. And so it's a way to control, you can't really control the price of Bitcoin, but it's amazing. If you read the white paper from Satoshi on, how Bitcoin was created, why, and what it's going to do, and how it's going to happen over time, it's unbelievable. And it's like, there's rumors that Steve Jobs is Satoshi, that he's the secret guy that started. And, maybe there's a whole bunch of reasons I don't think so, but very possible. But it is absolutely the most profound invention since the internet. And that person is obviously anonymous because he would have been killed. Our government, but all governments have killed people for a lot less than messing with our monetary system, which is the piggy bank for the rich and the banks and the governments.
So when it halves, is it going to double or is it going to go in half? So 43,000, is it going to be 83 or is it going to be 21 half?
No, but it will go up. Essentially, yes, it will double, but not like the day it happens. It's kind of more gradual than that. We typically see a 4-year bear market and then a 2-year bull run. And so right after that halving, nobody knows if it's going to be a month or 6 months or 3 months. But the price of Bitcoin usually doubles. Yeah. So around this time next year, I believe the price of Bitcoin should be $80,000 to $100,000. I never claim to know. I'm a long-term investor, and I work with banks, and I work with exchanges and cards. And so everything that I do is fairly slow and conservative. So I don't know and I don't pretend to know what's going to happen day to day, but I have a really good idea of what's going to happen, every 4 years. Every 4 years we're going to have it, and every 4 years the price of Bitcoin is going to double. If you look at math and you project out, to mine the last 21 million Bitcoin should be like $1 million a coin. And people used to say that, and they'd be like, "Oh God, that's just speculation." Well, there's a lot of math to back that up.
So if someone wanted to get into Bitcoin now, how would you recommend if they don't want to invest all the time to figure out, what to do?
The easiest thing to do, everybody used to always go to Coinbase. But Coinbase is the easiest to use. They're the biggest and they're the safest. They're almost like, if you've never been on the water before, it's the first boat at the harbor, and it's Carnival Cruise. And it's easy to get in. They've got walkers. It's safe. There's a buffet. I always say Coinbase is the Carnival Cruise of exchanges. It's the most popular. It's the biggest. It's the safest. It's the easiest to use. And it's free. You get an account and you get a free card. So now after that, then you start going on then you go on Princess, then you go on Caribbean, then maybe you go to like Silver Sea, or, they just keep getting nicer and nicer and nicer. So exchanges are similar. Coinbase is the real big one. There's some better ones. CoinZoom is my favorite exchange in America because Coinbase charges 4% to liquidate Bitcoin to cash. CoinZoom charges 0.26%. And they're also free, and the cards are free. And they're in America, and they're totally compliant. They're in Utah. I know the owner really well. So I would just go to coinzoom.com, or I'll send you a link. I have a referral link. It's not a network marketing company. I get $10 of Bitcoin, and you'll get $10 of Bitcoin. But hey, that's $20 of Bitcoin we didn't have before that we don't need to give to Coinbase. So I would go to I'll send you my link, but CoinZoom is a great exchange that's regulated, that's in America, that's not being sued by the SEC, maybe the only exchange at this point in America not being sued by the SEC. And you go there and you link your bank account via Plaid, Plaid, and then you just buy Bitcoin and sell Bitcoin, hold Bitcoin. It's so user-friendly, so easy to use. I can help anybody that really wants to do it.
That's pretty cool. I'm remembering as you were speaking that Wealth Mastery, Tony Robbins event in Fiji that I've gone to, one of the things that they recommend, because they put cryptocurrency in a high risk category, but high return.
Sure.
And so they say that everyone should have, depending on your risk tolerance, at least or about 2 to 3% of your money in cryptocurrency, of your savings.
Yep.
Which, depending on how much money you want, it's not very much, or it's maybe a lot. I don't know.
It just reminds me of a conversation I had in the in a lounge in the London Heathrow Airport, the Senator's Lounge. I've made a lot of money, but I'm not a real experienced investor. And I'm sitting there, and a lot of bankers there in the lounge, mostly I would say. My friends are all entrepreneurs, and we're all crazy. And we all came from network marketing. We're just like free-spirited, wild, ponies. And so most of my friends have probably 40% of their net worth in Bitcoin. And I was asking one of my mentors, Jason Karamanis, who's got like 100 million cash. He makes like, I don't know, $2 million a month. It's just ridiculous. I asked him, what percentage of my income should I have in Bitcoin? He's like 50%. And I was like, okay, cool. Like, normal conversation for two guys like us, right? So then I'm in the lounge, and this guy's like, he's asking me all about Bitcoin, and I've got all the answers. And he's like, wow, you seem pretty smart. And he's like, what percentage of my portfolio should I have in Bitcoin? I was like, 50%. And he just looked at me like, you're an idiot. And he got up and walked away. It's so funny. Like, I remember after 40, I was thinking, oh, finally, I'm sophisticated. No more embarrassing moments. Nope, happens all the time.
All right, Cliff. So you got 50% of your money in cryptocurrency.
I have 100%. I just took $1 million out to buy these 3 apartments here in Colombia, just because you don't ever want to have all your eggs in one basket, even if you are super pro anything, right? I mean, it's so funny. Have you ever noticed that sometimes, when I was younger, I noticed this. I felt like advice was contradictory. Like they say, don't put all your eggs in one basket, but to be successful, you have to go all in. I was like, well, which one is it? And it's just knowing which wisdom to apply when. And a friend of mine told me a saying I'll never forget: Iraq. Issue, relevance, application, question. What's the issue? Is it relevant? How do I apply it? And go back and question it one more time. And it's the advice that people are giving you, they all mean well, and it's not contradictory. It's having the wisdom to know when to apply it.
Yeah. So your apartment's in Medellín. So you talk about how amazing Colombia is. Tell us about why, how, what is it about Medellín?
It's the trees. That's people like short answers. I was at a bar in Toronto, Canada, and my friend was talking to a waitress, and she was holding the food, trying to get it to the people, and he kept telling her this joke, and it was funny, and she liked it, but she's like, it's getting heavy. And I walked up and I whispered in his ear, I go, people like short stories. Oh my God. He died. She heard me too. She got all red. And so ever since then, people like short stories. God, always keep popping up to me now. Leaders never complain, never explain. Something my brother used to always say. Just some people blabber way too much, and you don't have to tell everybody everything. But so I try to give short answers. The trees, and I know that sounds, everybody thinks about the girls. Colombia is famous. Medellín is world famous for having, like Miss World has been a girl from Colombia some number of times, apparently a lot. But so the first thing you notice when you get to Medellín is it's perfect weather. It's like 80 degrees and there's just enough humidity to make your aches and pains go away, and not enough to make you uncomfortable. So you land, and it looks like Jurassic Park and New York had a baby. It's like, you just have all these trees. There's just trees everywhere and plants, just all this green. And then you have Starbucks, Ferrari, shopping malls, all the big, you get the first world amenities and you get the third world prices. Because Robert, you and I have been to a million countries, and you can live anywhere cheap. You go live for cheap in the Philippines or Thailand or wherever. But in Colombia, it's just like perfect weather, stunning landscape. I mean, every time I ride my motorcycle, it's just so amazing. If it's too hot, doesn't matter. The trees are, God's hand is covering you with shade. If it starts to rain, doesn't matter. The trees suck up the rain. It's like being Batman, but instead of cold, dark, black rocks, it's just trees everywhere, all kinds of trees. So the green, I would say, is number one. The weather, number two. The prices, number three. And the girls, number four. The girls here look like Mexico and Asia had a baby. They're very exotic. They don't look like your typical Latin girl. They have almond-shaped eyes. They're just like, and it's weird. This country has a really high national average. Like most girls are like a 7 or an 8, whereas I go to London, the girls are like a 1 or a 10. There's like nothing in the middle.
Okay. So you had mentioned traveling.
Yeah.
You have gone to more countries than anyone I know. How many countries are you up to now?
I like to say 100 because it sounds cool, but it's probably like 83, I think. I don't know. It's somewhere in the 80s because, nowadays you don't get a stamp for every country. Some countries just don't give stamps anymore. And then a lot of times when I'm in Europe, like I was in Prague, I think, and I took the train to Vienna, Austria, and, great train ride. Oh, I mean, pay the first class. It's a few dollars more. You get a free drink. You sit in a better cabin. It's like you learn so much about how to travel. But yeah, I don't know. It's somewhere in the 80s.
Somewhere in the 80s. Where to next?
So that's a great question. I have a friend that works for an airline, and so I get free flights. I just have to pay the taxes, but you're always on standby. I'm sure everyone's heard of this. Mm-hmm. And it is awesome, but half the time it doesn't work because you get to the airport and the flight's full, and then you end up paying for a flight last minute. So everybody's like, oh, yeah, you can go to all these countries. You have that thing. And I'm like, dude, that thing only works half the time. And then you end up buying a ticket last minute. So it ends up being, I bet over the year, no, I probably come out ahead. But so it almost, what will happen is like, I'm doing a little bit of remodeling here. As soon as that's done, I'll go online, and there's 100 countries I haven't been to, and I'll check all of them, and I'll see which one can I get on first class for free. And so that's how I determine my travel schedule is where can I go for first class for free.
Wow.
But
so where were you just recently at?
I just came back from Indonesia because I hadn't been there. I had to check that off. It was in Jakarta. Dude, I really am like Forrest Gump and Peter Pan had a baby. I'm just the luckiest guy. Like in the crypto space, I started out at the bottom, and then I started selling equipment for the middle guys. And then now I'm friends with like, not all the top people in the crypto space. Nobody is. I've got the world's first Bitcoin credit card. Like, and I'm not going to do a whole thing on that right now, but like, I just like, sometimes I have to pinch myself. I'm like, I can't believe like the guys you see on TV or being interviewed are like the guys that I call and talk to every day. And like, that doesn't mean anything as far as how much money I make, but it's like, it's just so cool that you can climb to the top of any industry within a few years. That's so exciting. But the next place I want to go to really like without the free flight is Antarctica, but there's no commercial flights and a private jet's $35,000. So then that gets one thinking, how would one on a budget go to Antarctica? Because, I do make a lot of money, but I don't have as much money as people think probably. And so I'm always trying to save money. The best way to go to Antarctica is to go on a cruise. It's like
I have a friend that she takes people to Antarctica. She's like a tour guide. She's a Tony Robbins Platinum partner. And she's set up these amazing trips. I'll have to figure out who that is and get you in contact because she knows all the places to go and how to get there and can make it really special.
Well, I've lived and worked on every continent and for years, for multiple years. Like I lived in Africa for 4 years, Taipei, Taiwan for 4 years, Luxembourg 2 years, North America my whole life, South America 11 years. Well, that's not true. I haven't been to Australia. But Antarctica, that's hugely... But it's so interesting. No commercial flights. Private jet's $35,000. Private jet, $35,000. Yeah, great. I get a friend to go with me. We split it. But the cruise for $8,000, or like what the networking and the social. The private jet's cool, but I've done that a million times. You're just gonna sit there by yourself. And apparently, landing is quite vigorous, and not the flying is not super safe. So cruise ship. I'd like to, find out what her packages are.
Is it ever warm there, or is it always cold?
I don't know, but I think it's always cold. I don't know.
I don't like the cold.
So you have to stay at if you stay there, I'm going to stay on the ship. I'm going to get off for the photo. The same way I go to the.
Oh, you don't want to stay in an igloo?
Oh, dude, I would love to. You know what's funny is, you know me, I haven't worked in I don't know how many years. And, I spend this outrageous amount of money on travel. And so that's totally something I would do. But ever since we launched this new Bitcoin credit card, I slept 3 hours last night. I mean, I've just been on, everyone's calling, asking about it. And, again, Bitcoin's not that easy to use. So we came out with a card where you can spend your cryptocurrency directly from your wallet without all the hassle of selling it first. And so it's just magic. I mean, I don't know if we're going to be what iTunes was to music, but I hope so. And I think so. So.
Okay. So what's this thing called? Is it called Clif Card?
I wish it was. I work with 2 platforms. One is in America. It's called CoinZoom. And it's incredible. I mean, you swipe your card and the money comes right out of your XRP wallet or right out of your Ethereum wallet or right out of your Bitcoin wallet. And so that's the world's most advanced crypto card that exists right now is CoinZoom. And I've got a special relationship.
That's the one you were talking about earlier.
Yeah, or the other one. So there's 2. So and with CoinZoom, you can go directly through the company, or you can go through me. It doesn't really matter. Like I make a few pennies per card swipe. So if someone doesn't use me on this call, oh no. But when you do go through me, you get a little bit of a better deal, and I make a little bit of money. So it just makes more sense. And then the other card is Crypto Space, and the owner is a friend of mine. He's got the only Bitcoin ATM machine in the world in an airport in Cancun, and you can take out $400,000 cash. He's got a private room with liquor and bodyguards. It's just the craziest thing you've ever seen. He's got a Bitcoin ATM machine in Aria, I want to say in Caesar's Palace, but he owns a company called Crypto Space, and he's got the world's first ever Bitcoin credit card. It's with Visa. So the card, the metal card, which is so cool, is $300. Then there's a $1,000 deposit for Visa. Then Visa charges us $250 per account, and then the company has to make money. So the card ends up being $2,000 out the door. But now you've got a Bitcoin credit card that works everywhere in the world, and the maximum limit per swipe is $75,000. So a debit card, your maximum swipe with Chase or Bank of America is probably about $2,000. This card at maximum swipe, $75,000. On a plane, you can never take more than $10,000. Not that that's a daily problem for any of us. Me neither, unless you're selling drugs or guns or something, But what's cool about Bitcoin is you can have $10 million in your wallet, and you can have this card, which is like the tip of the spear out of the whole operation ecosystem, and you're flying around essentially with 75 grand ready to go, anywhere you go. So yeah, it's such a cool card.
Who takes it? Like if I go to the beach here and I want to have lunch, can I give them a crypto credit card?
Yeah. So we have
what would they do with it?
We have a deal with Visa, so they're not accepting crypto. We're changing it to cash for you.
Oh.
Everywhere you go, they're getting USD. We're the converter in the middle.
Okay.
So yeah,
all right.
And anytime
so
you swipe
Antarctica is where you're going to. Antarctica is where you're going to next.
I want a picture of riding a polar bear.
Hey, I saw it. They have polar bears in at Hertz Castle.
No way.
Yeah.
Real ones?
Hertz, Rand, I don't know if it's still there or not, but Randall Hearst, when he first created Hearst Castle, he wanted to entertain all his friends, and he brought in polar bears.
Oh my God!
And I saw the polar bear exhibit. I can't remember if there were polar bears there or not now, but it was hot.
I usually hire me at my party to give everybody a little something to talk about.
Yeah,
literally.
Yeah. So. So Cliff, you always have such exciting things going on in your life. What's next for you, or what's
you know what's funny is like America for some reason is addicted to big hairy goals and better your best, especially in the Tony Robbins world or the MLM world or the sales world or the personal development world. And I think because I've done that so much, I just like my life has been so crazy. And, this is a while ago, but, my fiance passed away and my brother just passed away. And so I'm just in a place where like, I just want peace and calm. As funny as that sounds, because on the outside, my life looks so crazy, but it's really not as crazy as people think, other than lots of flights and hotels. But I've been to 100 countries by myself, or 83 or whatever the number is, right? I love eating alone. I love going to a movie. I don't like being alone too much. I'll get lonely. And then I call a friend like Robert, But it's all balance. And so what's next? My answer is usually, hopefully just more of the same. I'm so happy. Or people say, what are you reading right now? Nothing. Just taking a break, I'm really not reading anything. Just peace and tranquility. More travel. So I've got the 3 apartments here. I've got 2 dogs, a pit bull and a Dalmatian who's psycho. Everybody said, you better research Dalmatians before you buy one. I was like, you don't know me. I should have researched Dalmatians before I bought one. They are the worst breed ever.
Now, you sent him to dog obedience school and he was going to come back after 30 days and be good. What happened?
She got better. Not good. She doesn't growl at kids anymore. Dalmatians don't like kids. This little girl came up and tried to pet it, and she put all of her teeth out. The parents looked at me like I'm a bad person. I'm like, fuck, dude, I just got this thing. 30% of them, I think, are born with hearing only in one ear. Like 8% of them are born deaf. And it just seems like they don't like to listen anyway. But
so with all the traveling you do, why do you have dogs?
I've always been a dog person. I just love dogs. I remember in 7th grade, I got a boxer puppy, and my mom came into my room, and the puppy was laying on my chest, and its head was laying on my head, as pups do. And I looked at my mom, and I go, there's no way you can make me move. I'm not going to school today. And she goes, I understand. And she shut the door. I was like, yeah. I'm a dog. I'm a dog person. So I do travel a lot, but I think the dogs dig it, because we have this dog school here. It's on top of a mountain above the city. It's nicer than my place, freaking dog place. And there's like 100 dogs there with trainers, pools, workout systems. They send you pictures every day of your dog. I think my dog likes going to the dog school more than she likes being with me. And in LA, it's like $50 a day or something ridiculous. Here, it's so cheap, I don't even know what I pay. It's probably $10 a day. So I have a great support system. My ex-girlfriend loves the dogs, and her dad loves the dogs. So I've got the school, Sarah, and her dad. And so the dogs are always rotating, and they always seem happy being dropped off and happy being picked up. So
well, I wish you'd consider coming with me to Vietnam. I'm sure you've been there, but the experiences we're going to have, you haven't had before.
That is true. God, Robert's always full of. I'm going to use that 100 times. I'll give you credit the first 3 times I use it. After that, it's mine. I love Vietnam. I was just there. Such a cool place. In fact, when you go.
Did you eat snake?
Yeah.
Did you eat snake?
I had it a long time ago, though.
You did?
Yeah, in Thailand.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I've had turtle.
Oh, okay.
I've had dogs. There goes half of our listeners.
Oh, no.
Yeah, in Korea, my friend's like, you got to try dog soup. I'm like, I'll try anything once. It wasn't good. I've had cow. I've had zebra, alligator, horse. I've had everything I can get my hands on except balut. And I'll never try that. It's just disgusting. It's a half.
What
is
it?
Half-grown embryo of a chicken. It's like it's like a baby chicken that's halfway formed. So it's like wet, but not no feathers yet.
Oh, Clif.
Balut. You have to Google it. Balut.
Where do they eat that? What country do they eat that in?
They eat it in Vietnam. They eat it in the Philippines, Thailand, Southeast Asia mainly, which is disgusting. Like. And I've ate everything you can think of, and I won't.
All right, Clif. If you were going to give advice to our listeners here who want to live a gratitude kind of life, life like you lead, what advice would you give them?
I mean, how it happened for me is I was so uncomfortable that doing all the hard stuff was less uncomfortable than my situation. So I always felt very lucky and very blessed, because it seemed like it was kind of easy. But you just have to be willing to do the things that other people aren't willing to do, so that you can have the things other people, will never be able to have. And so, like, I can tell you for the first 15 years in network marketing, I missed every family gathering. I didn't go to one single party. I would go to a party and I would sit there and I would just be like bored out of my mind. All I could think about was just, making it and just getting out of poverty. And so I think that's really all it takes, because that encompasses everything. You'll read the books, you just do whatever it takes. You just have to be willing to go all in, submerge yourself. Like success was a well of ink, and every orifice in your body has to be filled. Like you just completely all in, 10,000%. And can you make it with less dedication? Sure, I've seen it. But if you want to ensure success, just totally immerse yourself. And just cut out everything else.
Yeah. And last year you finished your second best-selling book. What was it called again?
God, I don't even remember. The first one, what was the title of the second one? I wrote that with Dave and Matt, and I can't believe how well it did, because it was so easy to write. But gosh, social marketing was the first one, and the second one I can't remember. You know why? Because we played with like 10 different titles. I think it's the Cliff Notes on marketing. I have to go back and look. We finally landed on one title, but there was 10 that I really liked. So I'll have to check it out. Yeah. But that's a good one, because it's me, Matt's, and my brother's opinion on different topics. So you get, because sometimes you read a book and this guy gives advice. Well, that's good for his personality, but his personality might not match your personality. So this is like 3 authors in one, giving you their idea on how to handle every situation that could possibly ever come up in network marketing. Yeah. So for those of you that are interested in network marketing still, I suggest you read Clif Braun's books. They're awesome. Social marketing, and then Cliff Notes or something like that. And Clif, it's such a pleasure always to talk with you. I'm glad that you got off the Zoom to join us here today, and just keep living that gratitude life. Oh, thank you so much for having me. I mean, you are in the dictionary, the definition of gratitude and happiness and just pure love and giving is Robert Radnoti. I mean, I got to tell this one last story about Robert. We were in Utah, and it was me and Robert in a cabin full of 15 girls. He can tell you how that happened. And it was like 4 o'clock in the morning. Or no, it was the night before. And there was one girl's like, oh man, I got to get back home for my kids. And she was going to have to get a taxi by herself at 4 o'clock in the morning or something. And Robert's like, oh, I'll do it. Robert went to the airport and he kept dropping people off one after the other, like Jesus, washing people's feet. I mean, I've never seen anybody as nice as Robert, and as gracious and as giving. I've never met a more giving person. Well, thank you very much. That was our Savvy organization, which, by the way, is going to Canada. Yeah. How we were in it and we were going to go international. Like today or yesterday, they start in Canada. So I'm still involved with Savvy. If anyone out there is from Canada and you want to get involved, reach out, and maybe we could build a team there. It'd be fun. I think that deal's got legs. All right, Clif, thank you very much for being here, and we'll see you in Antarctica. Hey, thanks for having me. Sorry I was late, but always a pleasure, and I can't wait to see you again in some part of the world.